I'm Tom Laux, Communications Director for the City of Marshfield, and thank you for joining me and Steve Barg, the City Administrator, on Council Preview. And our council meeting takes place February 11th on a Tuesday at 6 p.m. Council Chambers. But first, we're going to talk about what's going to be said or on the agenda for that meeting and give you a little bit of a sneak peek. Well, thanks for joining me, Steve, again.
Good to be here, Tom.
All right. Let's dive right into consent agenda. There is a big item on here in regards to our utility.
There is, and for people who are faithful viewers of this program, they might say, wait a minute, this is the third straight program I've heard you talking about Marshfield Utilities building project. Am I dreaming? Am I living Groundhog Day over again, like the movie with Bill Murray? You're really not. They're continuing to walk through the process and involving the city officials with the council and mayor being part of that. This is a bigger moment though now, Tom. Some people may have seen last meeting, may have realized that there's discussion about whether the city would approve a job order for this project. And that's what the Utilities Commission and their staff are going to ask us to do on Tuesday night. And that is, a job order, what it is saying that we are directing that they can move forward with their plans in the sense of design, architecture work, some of those expenses that come with developing a real plan, a real project. And it's kind of an important checkpoint. Actually, a couple of our council members raised it at the last meeting. I know that Adam Fisher was one of them. There may have been others saying, look, how does this work? What's the city's role in terms of approving this plan? So what we're going to talk about here in a minute, I think it's really three steps. The first one is, would they consider approving a job order on Tuesday night? And that's the one that ties to the meeting, that would say, yes, we like where you're going with this. Please continue to bake your plans. Please continue to have design, architecture, and other site preparation, discussion work going forward, and and move on ahead. It's like a go signal to move on to the next phase. The next one after that we'll maybe touch on in a minute too is the Plan Commission gets involved. And you say, well, how does this involve the Plan Commission? Well, under state law, under Chapter 62, they need to review the plans of an expansion project of a city facility. So they'll be going over it, and they'll be looking at seeing if it complies with all the plans and the things that we have in place, the policies. And then finally, next year, at some point, they'll come back to us and say, we are now ready to go ahead, if all goes well, and we'd like you to authorize us to borrow the money necessary for the project, which right now is estimated to be around $17.5 million.
Okay, well, that gives us a timeline. Appreciate that information. So we will see Nick come on Tuesday and maybe present this piece. Is that right? Mainly it'll be talking about the job order, which is we're going to get a document that I don't have yet. It's going to be probably a one-page document, Tom, and it's going to say, here are the basics of this project. Here's why we're doing it. Here's what we hope to accomplish. Here's the benefit to the community, and here's the cost. And it'll be something the council can look at and say, okay, it's going to be this size, and it's going to be consolidating all their operations, including water and everything, into one building. And this is why it makes sense. Yes, we believe it's worthy of going ahead and pursuing this farther. Continue your work on the design and planning for this structure, and move forward. There's a question that's come up in this process is, what is the city's role? Now, if this were a project under Dan Kinect, our Public Works Director, we'd probably have a lot more discussion, like we did with the library. I mean, they got down with their fingernails dirty and said, okay, now the library, let's see, how's that going to fit with 2nd Street and all these kind of things? Well, utilities is part of us, and yet they have some autonomy. So I don't think you're going to see that level of review. It's mainly whether or not this project is well-founded and worthy of supporting. Okay, and just real quickly, and maybe if people are wondering funding, this again is not coming at this point from city taxes.
Correct, nor will it. I'm so glad you brought that up, Tom. This will be paid for by user fees through the water and electric rates. And when people hear that, they might say, oh, great, $17.5 million, my rates are going to go through the roof. The payback is going to be over a long period of time. The adjustments on your rates, I think they suggested might be, 4 or 5% or something like that. It won't be some big crash. They have to get approval from the Public Service Commission in Madison, and those folks are very scrutinizing in terms of how much you can increase rates for a project. So don't look for it to break your bank at home, but it will not be any general tax money involved at all.
Yeah, and one thing that's really nice here for the residents here living in Marshfield is we have our own utility, and the rates are already quite lower than probably a lot of other places within the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I remember right, Nick, not saying it's not going to go up too much. If you're interested as a viewer to know a little bit more, tune into our past council meeting because there was a great presentation, maybe even the one before, from Nick. He shows a YouTube video as well. You can always watch that YouTube video is on Marshfield Utilities website. And I know that he said that if you have any questions or would want a tour of the old building is to give the call down at the utility and mention that.
Thanks for pointing that out, Tom. The videos really did show what we have today, how they're cramped, how they've taken certain rooms and made them into multi-purposes that really are awkward, and then what it will look like when the project is done and how beneficial it will be to efficiency and effectiveness of their operation.
All right, well, we'll find out what happens on Tuesday. That is a vote, but through the consent agenda. Again, they can always pull that out if they want to discuss.
And I would be surprised if they didn't in this case, given that it's $17.5 million. I would look for that to get some discussion.
Yeah, so, all right, well, let's lead right into the next piece on the consent agenda because we kind of wanted to just go through it, and you had a couple other pieces highlighted from our Public Works meeting held on February 3rd.
Yeah, one of them is called an aerial photo imagery and data agreement. It's got to do with getting a picture of the city from above and flying over and then being able to map. And you say, why does the city need this? If you've ever been into the city hall, the old city hall or the new city hall, you may have gotten to a point where you saw one of those large maps on the wall. They're so essential to us because what it shows is what's the existing status, where are the buildings, where are the where are trees. So when you look at it, you say, well, gosh, we could probably do something over there in that corner of town and put the road in. And then you look at the map and you say, wait a minute, there's already a few obstructions there. There's a garage, there's a clump of trees over in the southeast corner. It shows the current conditions from overhead. We used a company back in 2015 called WROC, the Wisconsin Regional Orthophotography Consortium. There's a mouthful, right? Mm-hmm. And now those folks have partnered with a company that we use for many other projects named Ayers Associates. And so our Public Works staff is recommending, and the Board of Public Works agreed with this, to go with being a partner with Ayers. Now again, the money isn't all going to be paid by the city proper. There's going to be payments made by Marshfield Utilities, our Wastewater Enterprise Fund, because multiple players in the city receive benefit from being able to access these aerial photographs. And so it'll be only a portion of it will be through the city's general fund operation. So, but it'll be good for everybody. If you look at some of the highlights, it's going to be a much better resolution. We saw that at the Board of Public Works. They showed us what the old one looked like and what the new one will look like for the same parcel, and it's really astounding how much more clarity there will be. So this will be very beneficial to the city, the wastewater department, utilities, and others in terms of getting a good look at the community from above.
Yeah, I was looking at it earlier when Cole, which is our Public Works administration,
yep.
And he was looking at it. I found it very interesting, and also it looks like even maybe fire and police could use this down the road as well. Yeah. I think it's pretty neat to see things from above. We all do that through Google Maps, but this is a bit higher end. So people might say, well, why not just use Google Maps? It's free. But this has a lot of imagery that doesn't provide, and how we can use it for parcel mapping and things like that. Yeah,
a good point, Tom. And again, the quality is going to be so much better than it was years ago, as is everything in technology. I mean, look at your cell phone. For the cameras on cell phones are now high quality compared to what they were when they first came out. But this will help us to do a lot of good planning between our Public Works, engineering, the development services, other departments. You mentioned fire and police. It'll be beneficial to all. Yeah, and someday, maybe not in my lifetime, it would be real-time imaging from above. Oh my gosh,
I think that would be neat.
That would be very neat.
But then you got to worry about getting into privacy issues, and you do look at Google Maps at times, and you see stuff like that, and say, "Oh, that wasn't there.
Yeah,
what was that?" But yeah, and then I think this maps will be available, possibly, hopefully, to the public on our city website for people to see maybe these aerial imagery. So, but we have to get it voted on first if that's going to happen.
Correct.
Let's go to the Aquatic Centers. Is that on here? Aquatic Center Architectural Services contract.
Yeah, we had a contract with Ayers Associates to do a lot of the the architectural and engineering services. Well, two of the key people that we work with are breaking away from that company, and they're getting involved with a company called Iconica. And so you say, well, wait a minute, okay, we can continue working with Ayers, but the people we've been working with aren't going to be there anymore. And really the tie we have is to the people we've been working with in terms of their skill sets and the fact that they have backgrounds. So in working with Ayers and Associates, they've been willing to do this, to terminate our contract with them as long as we pay them for all the services that we've gotten to date from their firm, and to then sign up with Iconica to finish the project. And somebody might be saying, okay, great, you put it all together, we're going to pay more. Cities always pay more. Give me the bad news. No, this is going to come out so that the balance of the contract that would have been paid to Ayers is the amount that we're going to pay to Iconica. So the total dollar amount, which is roughly $300,000 for all the services provided for this aquatic center, planning and architectural work, is the amount we're going to pay. It's just going to be divided now between Ayers and the company that these two people have spun off to be part of. But it's important. We need to get this going and get this to the finish line. I think we've talked a little bit about fundraising here recently. We're still looking for more money from the private side to get this done, and I know Justin Casperson will continue to provide updates, but we've got to have it designed to the quality specifications that we need to make this a good project.
Yeah, I think it's, we'll have to see what the, I guess I think it's important to keep your same people that you've worked with who've gone a long ways in this project. It's very nice that Ayers allows that.
Yeah, it is.
And
it is.
Because they lost 2 employees, but they're allowing to have those 2 employees take our account on. So we'll see what the council has to say. I don't think you're going to lose any. You're not going to lose anything.
No.
Because you're staying. But if we had to start over, I don't want to say start over, but the designer makes a big difference. And
it's kind of like in your personal life, Tom. Sometimes you feel like, okay, I've always done business with this company, or I've always gone to this mechanic, and then you find out that the mechanic who usually works on your car has left and he's gone to another shop. Well, was it the company that fixed my car that I'm so comfortable with, or is it this person? And you tend to go with the people who do the actual work. But like you said, and you made a really good point, Ayers was good to work with, because otherwise they could have said, well, your agreement's with us, but they were very good to work with in terms of making that transition.
Well, we do a lot of business with those beyond. We just talked about Ayers a bit before this, so.
And they can understand. I mean, the people that we've been dealing with, there's some history there.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. All right, you have one more piece that you had highlighted on our consent agenda, I believe, a submit compensation evaluation for, is this a new job or an assessment technician job?
No, it's actually, we have an assessment technician, just for a little history for people who haven't followed this. Until a couple of years ago, we had 2 staff people in the office, an assessment technician and an appraiser, and then we also had we have a contract assessor, Grota Appraisals, out of Menominee Falls. And Jim Toth from Grota comes here once a week, and he's available by phone other times. But our appraiser left. And so you say, well, let's refill the appraiser position. We talked to Grota and Jen Rakew, my human resources director, and others met, and we said, it sounds like we can maybe get the work done without replacing it if Grota can take on a little bit more work, which we're compensating them for, and then if we look at what we do with the assessment technician. Well, what's come out of that, Tom, is maybe that we could upgrade that position from assessment technician to deputy city assessor. They would take on a little bit more work. That individual, Keith Pugh, has been working really hard to learn, to get certifications, great employee. If we could bump him up to that, then between Grota and the deputy city assessor, we'd probably be able to cover everything so the public feels comfortable we're on top of it. So, I mean, if the council says, no, I don't see it, I don't see upgrading that position and paying more, the world won't end. Life goes on. But we think it might be a good way to mesh the duties between Grota and the staff person in the office for what we lost when the appraiser left last spring.
Okay. Well, we'll see if any discussion comes out of that piece in the consent agenda. Well, let's move on to our 5-year financial plan. That is outside of the consent agenda. It's a presentation by Ellers, which is our finance, I guess, advisors.
Finance advisor, yeah.
Advisors. So tell me a little bit what this is about. We all know that we need to have a good plan moving forward, especially with what's happened in the past year or two, and these guys have really helped us out.
They have. They've been wonderful. And before I start, when the agenda packet comes out, which maybe by the time people are watching this, it will have, but on Friday, February 7th, you'll be able to go on and look at this 26-page document yourself on the city's website. But yeah, we changed financial advisors from PFM to Ellers last year in the midst of some of the struggles we were dealing with TIF district transfers and those types of things. The intent of this, Tom, and it's been coming for a long time, it's been talked about for about 3 years now, is to have one document that pulls everything together. Sometimes you deal with things in isolation. At home you might say, well, hey, I got a great checkbook balance. Honey, our checkbook balance is way up. Yeah, but our savings is way down. Remember, we drew from that? And by the way, we've signed on to buy a new car, so we've got a car payment for the next 5 years. You have to get the entire picture together, not just one component. So what this document is intended to do is take our operating funds, our budget, our CIP, our other special funds, our debt, and pull it all together and say, what is the total financial picture of the city, and what roadmap do we need for the next 5 years to make this work? And things are going to be tighter. I think we talked about this when we had the budget conversation back in the fall, Tom. We had a 3% tax rate increase. We haven't had that for a long time because we have some challenges. But this document will give us a roadmap to say, look, if you want to stay good in the next 5 years beyond, here's where you need to come in terms of the general fund expenditures every year, in terms of how much you can borrow each year to be able to pay it back without getting into a bad place. It's that one-stop shopping document. What you have that you're looking at right now is a draft. Council will give comments, staff is still giving comments, but I would think within the next 30 to 60 days, hopefully we can get an approval of this document, and that will help us on all parts of financial planning.
Yeah, there is a lot in here. Again, it'll be a public document once the agenda is posted, which is usually on a Friday, correct?
Yep.
And Ehlers had helped, Ellers, excuse me.
That's okay.
Had helped.
They go by both, but
by both.
Yeah.
Is going to do a presentation on what we're looking at here. I know our viewers aren't seeing this at the moment. A lot of numbers and kind of hard to put on TV. But if you're interested, tune in on Tuesday night on TV or come down. I mean, we have plenty of seats in the audience for people to listen to and hear what they have to say, because I think it's going to affect all of us, especially people that pay taxes. This is all part of it. So we don't have maybe the levy will be or the tax levy will be different. So I think one thing I wanted to mention a while back, the council approved a new software for us.
Yeah.
And this is by having these guys. I think which is a good 2-year, 3-year process just to get it initiated. This is a great step to put the good information in.
Yeah,
we don't really have, and part of that I think is without that software which the council approved to help with this.
You're right. So, part of the hope, I'm glad you said that, Tom. Part of the hope is that we can take this and then, as we get our financial software up and running, dovetail the information into there and be able to work with it ourselves more to produce reports that are more beneficial to department heads in terms of tracking. But let me say one more thing about the document too. It's very easy to sit at home. I'm sure I did this before I was a city official and say, well, my gosh, why are taxes going up? Or why is the city not doing more work? They should be fixing the roads faster. It's very easy to do that. Just like when you wake up on Monday morning and say, well, why didn't Aaron Rodgers throw to the tight end? He was open, and those kind of things. But it's more complicated than that. And what you have to do here is look at all these aspects. And just flipping through the document, there's talk about the credit agencies and what they look at for borrowing. There's talk about debt schedules, the equalized value of our property in the city. How much is it going up? That tells us how much we're going to be able to secure new revenue from just the taxes that are paid in without increasing the rate. There's all sorts of stuff in here. The impacts that are going to be on the levy based upon the borrowing and the paying off of those borrowings over 20 years. The TIF district implications. Our TIF districts are doing well. What does that mean for 5 to 10 years from now? How does that benefit us? It's pretty comprehensive. This presentation will probably last quite a while, and then there'll be some Q&A with the council. So some people might be thinking, well, how can you take so much time in a council meeting for an item that we're not going to ask for action on that night? This is background. This is to get familiar with this, and then ultimately they can come back and say, yes, we want to embrace it. We think it's reasonable. We think it's achievable, and we're on board. But for the first night, it's just going to be presentation, and Q&A.
All right.
So.
Well, we'll look forward to that presentation. Again, anybody can tune in on Facebook, city's Facebook page, as well as the city's website, ci.marshfield.wi.us. We put a link right up there under recent news. You'll be able to click on that, and it'll take you right to the meeting, and it's only about a few seconds delay, so you're getting all of it. And but if you want to sit and watch it on the big screen and have cable, you can do that on channel 991, and that again starts at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, February 11th. Anything else, Steve, that we have that?
Not really. It's a fairly light schedule. There's 4 closed session items. There's not a lot I can talk about at this point. But the presentation is probably going to be the big thing, along with the discussion I expect from the utilities project. The next big thing coming up that we'll be talking about in the weeks to come, Tom, will be the CIP, Capital Improvement Program. Dan Kinect is leading the charge. The projects are being pulled together. That is our 5-year blueprint in terms of street projects and other big types of expenditures, and always something to talk about here.
Yeah, and that, again, we'll go right back into this plan, I see, because that's a major part of the process is our CIP.
Correct.
Without it, the plan would self-destruct.
Well, it would, but it'll be so nice when this is adopted to have an overall plan that ties together the various elements. Otherwise, it's a little bit too scattered without that roadmap.
Alrighty, well, we'll look forward to that in the coming months, and coming month, I should say, and we'll bring that here on our council preview program, possibly for our next council meeting. We'll see where we go on that, and as well as other items that come up throughout our agendas that come into our committee meetings, and we will see how they go on to the consent agenda or on the agenda itself. But thanks again, Steve, for all this information. Appreciate it.
Good to be here with you.
And I would thank our viewers for watching both of us talk about what's happening in the next council meeting, or going to happen. Kind of give a sneak peek, or a sneak preview, I should say. I think it's important that everybody kind of watches that. It's a quick way of really seeing what you want to watch. You don't have to watch the whole council meeting. You can look at a piece you want. So again, I'm Tom Laux for the City of Marshfield. Thanks for joining us on Council Preview.